The power to transform is always in your hands. There is not one single passing moment when this extraordinary power of transformation or of creation is in someone else's hands. When it comes to your life belongs entirely to you. The power of creation is yours alone. The power of transformation is yours. And nothing and no one can move this energy except for you in your own world. Even though we have repeated this message thousands of times before, still, it seems that most of you are accustomed to responding to life automatically within the system. It's time to say a final goodbye to victimhood. You must realize that victimhood is not just a feeling, but a system that keeps you trapped in old patterns of behavior that you can effectively utilize in thousands of different and unique situations. And when you are finally faced with this incredible opportunity, you will find that you automatically use it to your advantage. There would be no problem using this system of victimhood, like, for example, this person always does this to me, or why does this always happen to me? Or why is this person still in my life? Or why does everything in my life happen in a way I wouldn't want to live? Or why did this person arrive late when I always arrive on time? And so on, and so on, and so on. Whenever you find yourself faced with these situations where you simply react and respond automatically in this manner, you are actually not being conscious of your actions. You are unconscious. And as we were saying, there is no problem at all. With being unconscious, there is no problem in playing the victim, if it weren't for the fact that constantly playing the victim drags you down to much lower frequencies. Responding to life in this specific way puts you in the role of the victim, and the victim always has a certain vibration. And when you, in this victim role, vibrate, you send that exact frequency out to the entire universe. And that frequency will inevitably come back to you in the form of a future situation. And so, if you respond quite automatically through the victimhood system, you will receive from the vast universe in your future situations where once again you will feel like the victim, or once more you will have the opportunity to find yourself confronted by a situation that is very similar to that one. And there you will once again have the power to choose, the power to decide, the power to do things differently. For example, that person showed up late once again, or that person disappointed you once again, or that situation turned into a nightmare again, and so on. You are once again faced with that situation. And what are you going to do? Are you going to be the victim again? Are you going to start blaming people again? Once again, are you going to say that you can't do anything because the problem isn't you, the problem is her? Are you going to do that again? Well, if you do that again, we have to tell you that once again you will be vibrating. As the victim, you will be sending out energy to the universe as a victim, and you will be creating your next future as the next victim. This is a cycle where, in each situation, you have the opportunity to do things differently. However, it is up to you to start understanding whether you want to be the victim or if you want to be the person who creates and transforms your world. The person who takes responsibility for everything that exists in their own life. Responsibility is not blame. Taking responsibility is the conscious realization that there is no single other external power that can create in your world other than your own. We know that many people say, but what about the other person? But it wasn't me. But I did everything right. So why did this happen to me? This is the essential point for you to understand. Do you believe in the law of attraction? Do you believe that you attract into your life according to your vibration? That specific individual could only be exactly the way they were. That situation could only exist precisely the way it did. That experience unfolded the way it did because you vibrated beforehand. That is taking responsibility for yourself. This happened because I vibrated. If I hadn't vibrated at that frequency, I wouldn't have attracted this to me. I wouldn't have attracted this experience to me. I wouldn't have attracted this problem to me. I wouldn't have attracted this fight, this argument to me. I wouldn't be living what I'm living now if I hadn't vibrated beforehand. The before could be yesterday, last month, last year, 10 weeks ago, a month ago, it doesn't matter. But you vibrated beforehand. That is self-responsibility. And the more you truly become self-responsible, the freer you will become, because playing the role of the victim can often be quite comfortable. So, this is because you are putting all of the responsibility for what happens in your own life, which you yourself created, entirely onto someone else. And then you say that they are the ones who are in the wrong. So you are, in fact, operating through two systems. One is the victimhood system, and the other is the system of duality. Because not only do you put the responsibility on someone else's shoulders, pointing at them, but you also use the right and wrong system to say, I'm right and they're wrong. I'm right and this situation is what's wrong. So it's absolutely necessary to understand. That responsibility is truly the freedom to look at what's happening and say, this time I will do it differently. Because I unconsciously in the past created what I'm experiencing now. However, at this very moment, I have so much power in my hands, and I am capable of creating something different in the future. So this is the wonder of self-responsibility. Because victimhood, as comfortable as it may be, a place where you are good and the other or the situation is bad, is a prison. Where you live through a situation in which you are the victim, you resonate with victimhood and create another situation where you are the victim again. You resonate with victimhood, create another situation where you are the victim, resonate with victimhood again, and so it goes on. You end up trapped in a system where you face difficulties. The more you live your life in this way, the more you truly experience your relationships and your journey in this particular manner, the more you feel that this is just how life is, and that things happen as they are meant to do. And you feel you have no power to change them. But the truth is that in every situation you have the power to change. Maybe in that specific situation, you can't change the physical reality of what happened. In other words, the argument happened, it happened, that person said what they said, that thing happened in a way you didn't want, but it happened. However, you need to plant the seed. You need to plant the seed for your future. And you plant the seed for your future as you embrace that experience in a responsible way, in a loving and understanding way, recognizing that you created it. So now you have the power to create something different. And in that very specific moment, you plant a different seed in this rich and fertile ground of the universe. So carefully observe your experiences, whether they come through situations, through relationships, or through any other various circumstances. Observe and see exactly what your response is like. If your response is within the victimhood mindset, where you are blaming something or someone, or perhaps if you are even blaming yourself right now for a certain specific response you may have given in the past, for a certain way you made a difficult choice in your life at that time. Observe. Observe how you are dealing with that. And observe what kind of seed you are planting for your future. Because the reality is that at every moment you are creating something new in your life. But you might be creating this new thing to be very similar to what you experienced yesterday, or to what you experienced the day before yesterday. How can you experience this new thing in a new way? With different frequencies, higher frequencies, frequencies where you feel better. But it really depends on how you react right now. Because your now is your moment to plant a seed. There is no other moment. There is no way for you to plant this in the future. Like, oh, that's just how that person is, but never mind. At some point, this comes to an end. You are not planting seeds. You are simply repeating the same patterns, the same systems, and you will receive the same situations in the future, whether it's with that person or with someone else. This also applies to situations, to feelings. This applies to everything. It's no use saying, oh, that's just how I am. Someday I'll learn. Someday I'll change. Someday this will all come to an end. And someday I'll feel much better. There is no tomorrow unless you have transformed your being today. So self-responsibility is this love for life, this love for your own power, this hunger for transformation. Because many of you, without realizing it, no longer expect that to change, that relationship to change, that situation to change. You say, oh, but that's just how it is. It's always been this way and it always will be. Things don't change. I don't have the strength to change. I simply do not have the strength to change myself. You don't really expect that to change, do you? Sometimes it is just an empty phrase, a phrase that lacks any real power, a phrase without feeling. Someday this will change, but there's no feeling behind it. There's no determination. There's no I understood, and now I do things differently. That doesn't exist. There's simply the let it go. But the victim mentality keeps resonating. The discomfort keeps resonating. And soon that will show up again in your future because you just resonated with it. You just planted a seed. And like every seed in the universe, it germinates, it grows, and it bears fruit. So, looking at your present moment, at your responses, and understanding whether you are conscious or unconscious, whether you are using the victim mentality or taking self-responsibility, is essential for you to transform your life.